This is Beyond the Veil with Norman Meredith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight is What Did I See? I'm going to be hosting this, and Ed is definitely hosting this with me. He's going to be asking some questions as an interviewer instead of interviewee, because guess what, folks? I seen a flying object Sunday while headed to work. And so it'd be kind of one-sided if I tried to tell everything and try to explain everything as an investigator and the investigatee. Yeah, I know that sounds weird, don't it? But now I'm going to give you a little history. Now, y'all know, if you've been watching my show for a while, I happen to like flying saucers or UFOs. It's been always my thing since I was a young child. And I'm going to tell you something that a lot of you may not know, but during my lifetime, I have encountered flying objects always in the distance. And one of my best encounters was in 1995 down at Panama Beach. I was sitting down on the beach watching this fishing trawler bob in the water off at at dusk, when the sun had just gone down. And I seen two orange balls of light flying across the sky. And, my first thought was maybe it was F-15s or F-16s at full burner. But the thing was, something told me to look up. Yes, literally, like a voice popped in my head, and it wasn't my conscience saying, hey, don't do this, don't do that, or go pinch that girl's butt. It was, Norman, look up. And while I looked up, that's when I seen these two orange balls of light flying across the sky and make a right-hand 90-degree turn, which is physically impossible for modern aircraft that we know of. And that incident has always stuck with me. That encounter where I had maybe a mental link, message implanted. I was supposed to see those objects. Now, let's go to today. Sunday, while heading to work. Now, for you that don't know, I live in Anderson. And my duty station is in what's called Pendleton, South Carolina. And I live next to Highway 85, exit 19. And I just crossed over exit 19 and was just maybe a couple hundred feet away from the lights when I seen this burnt orange object in the sky moving at a pretty good pace, not super fast. It wasn't fast as a helicopter, and it wasn't slow as a balloon. And I looked at it and I seen no running lights. I unfortunately did not roll down my window or pull over. And the unique thing about it was it had a black stripe down the middle, like it had a gantry or something underslung underneath it. And I was like, and then, I looked in my rear mirror and I could watch this thing going off at an oblique to the road towards what we call Centerville, small subdivision community area. And it, like I say, it was moving at a good clip. And I was like, did I just see a UFO? Well, as the investigator in me, I have to say, let's look at the facts. And what do you think I had to do, Ed, to figure out what I've seen?
You had to stop. You had to make sure that you weren't seeing things like, in your mind. You had to make sure that you're right spot. Pinch yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure that you weren't, dreaming, I guess.
Yeah, I was fully awake, that's for sure. But the first thing I did was I took a screenshot of a few minutes later, I took a screenshot of the weather conditions on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to know what the weather was like, what the overcast was, because the first thing that popped in my mind, the second thing I should say that popped in my mind, besides UFO, was balloon.
Sure, like a weather balloon, right? So you take a screenshot right here.
Yeah, this is the screenshot I took to look at what the weather was.
Weather looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's partially cloudy. Wind is about 1 mile per hour. And now you're wondering, why did I do this? Well, in case there is balloonists up there, I wanted to see what the cloudiness was and what the wind was, because that would affect if somebody was up there in a hot air balloon. Because, see, next weekend, we got hot air balloons coming to Anderson. And once in a blue moon, you might have a couple balloonists in Anderson just running doing, private events and such. And so this is one of the things I was thinking was maybe this was a hot air balloon. So 2 things I did. I went and instead downloaded some pictures of hot air balloons and Japanese lanterns. Now, we're going to scroll through a couple of these pictures of hot air balloons and show you what they look like at night. Now, this thing now the object I seen was burnt orange. No running lights, okay? No obvious propulsion as a jet engine or anything like that. But, as you notice in some of the lighter color balloons, you can see the orange because of the flame being, they're gassing up this thing.
It almost looks like a flicker.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah.
But this thing was solid.
Yeah.
A solid color, like somebody was just keeping the gas to it. And let's go a couple more on these.
All right. So we can go over to this one right here.
Yeah. Now that's a Japanese lantern. That was one thing I even thought about. But the thing was, mine had a black stripe down the middle of it, and it was larger than like a ball. It wasn't circular. It was kind of disc shaped, but also at the same time looked like a flattened football.
Okay, so like possibly a spherical diamond shape.
Yeah.
Elongated spherical diamond shape.
Yeah, exactly. With a black stripe down the middle, which may have been a landing gear or landing stripe, or maybe a gondola of some sort. But it was very long and rectangular, which was weird because no balloons are like that I know of, unless it was a blimp, but you would see running lights. And I've seen blimps. This didn't look like a blimp because usually blimps are lit up on the side. And I don't know. I went through all the pictures that I could find of balloons and Japanese lanterns just to get an idea. And then I did a little research, and it's just like, it can't be this. Now, some of you remember I talked with Craig Martell. He was an author that came on here a while back. Now, what some of you may not know is I may have told y'all he's a former Marine colonel, and his specialty was military intelligence. So I texted him later that day and asked him, Craig, I've seen something. And he goes, okay, what'd you see? Laughing. I said, I seen a UFO up close. And he got serious. I said, okay, what you need from me? So I want you to debrief me like you're investigating this, because yes, I'm an investigator, but I can't investigate myself. I know what the questions I'm asking myself, but I need someone else to ask, double check behind me and ask.
Right.
And he did. We talked about locomotion. We talked about size. We talked about speed and how it was flying. And all that made sense. And, come up with the same answers that I was asking myself. Now, this here is a spherical UFO that's an artist's rendition, but it was not what I seen. It was totally different. I did a little research. This here is...
Looks like a Chinese...
Is it Japanese lantern again?
Japanese lantern.
Yeah. And it's nothing to do with what I seen.
Go back to Martell.
And Martell said, okay. So we talked a few more minutes about what shape and size and all that. He said, it could be the possibility it was a drone. And I said,
that's true.
It could have been, but it was a huge ass drone. But the thing is, there was no running lights on it. So it means if somebody was running it, they're running it illegally without the lights, which could mean either a private company trying some sort of test, military, doing something. Don't know what. We do have. Now, these here are lights of unidentified flying objects. Now, they're spherical or round shape. But like I say, mine was not shaped like this. It was shaped like a flattened football disc with a little bit of a pointy end at the front. And it was moving it was moving faster than a balloon, but but slower than a helicopter, because I've flown on helicopters. I've watched helicopters, both in military and civilian life. I've seen how fast they can go. I've seen how fast they can come in. This is no helicopter. And if it was a Chinook, you would have heard it. It was not a Chinook. It wasn't a Black Hawk, because you'd heard it. Military helicopters have a distinctive whoomp to them. And Hueys, if you ever heard of Huey back in the 70s and 80s, you would know it was a Huey. It wasn't a military helicopter. It just weird, I don't know what to tell you. And then later that day, I was up at the hospital and I ran into a sheriff's deputy friend of mine. He was up there and I told him, I said, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you talk with some of the dispatchers, see if they got any calls about some object, maybe Saturday night, Sunday morning? And one of the nurses heard me say this. And she looked at me, she said, why? Well, I seen something this morning. She said, Facebook's got some reports of people seeing an unidentified flying orange object. I'm like, okay, so I'm not the only one. That's confirmation, and I wasn't hallucinating. Now, this here's a sort of like what I seen, but we're seeing it from a side angle. You notice it's sort of pointed at the edges like a football. But the base, like I say, it had a black stripe down it. And the only thing I could find close to what I was seeing was from a movie. Now, you all know I'm a movie buff, especially science fiction. And there was a movie called Battle in Outer Space from 1959. Now, similar to this, but the tail would have been to the front, and it would have been a little shorter. And you wouldn't have the small delta wings on the side. And this was the top, and then the bottom would have been the black stripe. And like I say, it was moving at a pretty good click toward the lake. Now, it's interesting because in Anderson, most UFOs have been seen over Broadway Lake, over Lake Hartwell, and in or around Lakeshore property. Water, for some reason, always attracts unidentified flying objects. Did you know that, Ed?
No.
Yeah.
Maybe they live there.
Or it could be the fact that they're getting hydrogen out of the water.
Could be that.
Something to use for their energy source.
Osmosis.
Yes, take the water up, break it down, withdraw the hydrogen, get rid of the other part. They got oxygen, just put it back into the environment, take the hydrogen, turn it into something that they need for their power plant. Possible idea, I don't know. But it was interesting to be on the receiving end for something so close this time. And like I said, I've always seen them at far distance. You've ever encountered anything strange in your life like this before?
Maybe, probably not. Now, one time I thought I saw Bigfoot, but it ended up being a bear or like a massive pig. It was up in the mountains.
Okay.
But I've read a lot about it. I see it. I'm a 75% skeptic, but probability, probably not. Possibility, endless. Mm-hmm. It could be anything.
Yeah.
And we just don't know. We only know history for so far. We have evidence of other things, and we have still literal concrete granite evidence of pyramids.
Yeah.
We don't have the technology to do that.
No.
What are they? What's under? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
there's and why are they positioned perfectly up towards like
the belt of Orion,
like perfectly north, and the bottoms of them are within like a half a quarter of a centimeter.
Yeah.
It's just like.
It's impossibility.
If we don't have the engineering to do it today, how'd they do it back then? Well, it's like, but hold on. It's literal evidence. It's right there. It's like, how do you explain that?
Speaking of that,
unless it was someone else.
We haven't heard no more about the structures underneath the pyramid lately.
Yeah.
You notice how fast that dropped?
It seemed to go away pretty quick.
I wonder why.
I don't know. And how do they line up with all the other pyramids, like from different eras, who have never talked to each other before, from centuries apart from millennia apart from one another? Like the Incan and Aztec stuff in the Western Hemisphere, but the Eastern Hemisphere,
and the Hindus,
they've never been there.
The Hindus,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. That's why this is your podcast.
Yes. But I checked Facebook about UFOs in South Carolina, and within the last couple months, there's been a rise of orange-colored UFOs in South Carolina. And William Nighthawk even did a show on it.
They must be Clemson fans.
But that, they got a sense of humor.
I mean, you're close, you're real close to Clemson, so.
It's that they got a really sick sense of humor. Said, let's do it orange.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, folks. I know some of you may think I'm crazy because of my beliefs, and some of you may even may be skeptics. But I'm not bragging, I'm not boasting. I'm just reporting a fact of an instant. I'm not saying it's a fact, because a fact would be me able to touch it, have photographs, and more information than I have. I mean, right now, I'm just providing information of what's going on. I'm going to show you a video from Belgium of a UFO encounter with orange spheroids, basically, and it's about 3 minutes long. So, watch this.
Let me put you screen in screen here, and maybe you can go over a little bit of it.
That'll work.
All right. Tell us what you think, man.
Definitely.
Hopefully there's no commercial.
I hope not.
5 minutes apart from one another. Now, this guy is claiming, because I watched the video, this guy's claiming, he's like, hey, these things are, speeding along. I think at this point he can see it, right? Now he zooms in. Mm-hmm. And as he zooms in, he's trying to track with it. So he's a little bit all over the place.
Now, without zooming in, that looks similar to what I seen in 1995 at Panama Beach.
Okay.
But there was two
elongated
in line,
football-shaped diamond.
Mm-hmm.
And then he leans against a telephone pole, and when he's against the telephone pole, he's holding it, and then he'll stop, and it'll come in one frame from the right, and you can see the speed of it and which way it's going.
Right.
He doesn't say it's heading east. Most of our winds are trade winds,
right?
Or what are they called? Here it is. He holds it, and then that's how it's traveling. That's how fast it's going. See how he recalibrates and does his thing. But, it doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't say specifically, this is what's going on, Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. What do you think, Norm?
Until regular people can talk to an individual, a news crew is on scene, and everyday people can put their hands on it and see it and make contact with it, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I mean, you want to know if it's, is it the weather system? Is it the weather balloon, rather? Is it, people just messing around? Is some redneck, just burning something? Let's
now,
make it.
See, this one here is supposed to be a UFO, but also it looks like a Japanese lantern.
Yeah, it does look like a lantern. That's for sure. On that one, at least.
I think that one could have been a Japanese lantern, because look at how at the base it's glowing more like there's a lot of energy there, like a fire or something. What they do is they use like a candle to heat up these paper balloons to create warmth that raises these paper balloons up. And then when the fire goes out or it gets cool, they come down.
Right.
And it's supposed to be part of the religious ceremony. I think it's a Shinto religion.
And there's it's a send-off for the dead.
Right. A memorial for the dead. And a send-off for the dead. Like you say, it's really interesting to watch, because in Japan, they'll have celebrations where they launch hundreds to thousands of these things at a time. And they'll fill the sky. And it could be a possibility somebody in Belgium was of Japanese descent, and maybe sent one of these up, and it was misconstrued.
Yeah. You never know.
I know. That's why I have to be open about what I might have saw. Why I was saying, okay, let me look at what it could be before saying this is what I think it is.
Right.
Why I said, well, let me look at the balloons. Because the first thing that popped in my head was Japanese lantern when I seen it.
And it should, I mean, because that's what's normalized here. It's just, that's what you would see. Your brain, even before you could think it, is going to say that's what it is. Because, we see a lot of things, but sometimes, sometimes it's not though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The fanboy in me wanted to go, UFO, UFO, UFO. But the investigator in me is going,
Be like, where's my phone at?
let's see what it could be. Is it this? Could it be this? Let's rule out what it could be before we assume it's this. And that's the route I was trying to go. And that's the route I believe I should go. I should go without running around like Paul Revere and saying the UFOs are coming, the UFOs are coming. So I'm going to leave it as an open topic because until I can see it again, maybe closer up or get a better picture, or I can blow it up and look at it, I'm going to leave it as an unknown object at this time. All right, I want to thank you for interjecting on this. And folks, leave your comments, leave your thoughts. And if any of you have any information on this event that happened over the weekend, leave some comments in the Facebook or direct message me. We'd love to hear from you. So we're going to sign off from here in Liberty, South Carolina. Pickens, South Carolina, and tell you
can we teleport?
tell you thanks for joining us for this little bit of show of what did I see. And we'll talk about something cool next week. Okay, folks? And thank you for sharing your time with me and your night. Y'all be safe. Good night.